Good morning. So today we are going to start a new topic of friends, specifically kind of learning about friends. The reason I picked this topic is because I actually had lunch with somebody yesterday and we kind of got on the topic of figuring out who your friends are, how it's difficult at any age to make friends, and kind of figuring out, sometimes the hard way, who isn't your friend. And this is something I decided to talk about because it's kind of important to a lot of people. Though there are different kinds of people, introverts, extroverts, different level of friendships that everybody attains. A lot of the times we never feel like we have enough friends or we have enough good friends. And so it was something that I thought I'd talk about for a little bit. So as I spoke about in my last blog, I don't really have a lot of friends. I have a good handful, which is enough, but at the same time, not a lot of them live very close. I think the closest one is probably 30 minutes away at least, probably closer to an hour. And so it makes it a little difficult to go out and hang out with your friends and kind of meet up. And that's something that me as an extrovert really thrive on. As much as I love spending time with random people, I love spending time with specific people a lot more. And so I figured I'd talk about it a little bit. So, like I said, I don't really have very many friends, but I've been working on trying to create new friendships, new relationships, and building them. And it's taken me some time to figure out kind of how you do that. Because, when you were in school, it was whoever was in your class or whoever was sitting next to you, or, that's my best friend, and you go and you hang out with them, and you would talk to them, and you would see them every day, Monday through Friday, roughly, like 8 a.m., sometimes you'd get there at 6 a.m., all the way to like 3:45, 4 o'clock. And you would see them all the time for years, as long as you guys stayed in the same schools. And if you grew up in a small town like I did, you did. So it was a lot easier for us to make friends. At the same time, a lot of those haven't stood the test of time, partly because we've lost that consistency. So once you get out of high school, you don't see everyone Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. You kind of see them on a irregular basis, like maybe you guys texted and said, hey, let's go out to eat, or let's go out to hang out, let's go to the movies. And it was maybe once a week, every other week, slowly dwindling until somebody just stopped reaching out and friendships fade. And part of that is you kind of got used to being lazy about your friendships. You didn't feel the need to reach out as often. You didn't feel like, well, if I don't text him today, I'll see him tomorrow anyway. Or, it's Saturday, and just wait till Monday and we'll talk about it. But if you do that with your more adult friendships when you get out of high school and you don't see them as often, your friendships can fade, dwindle, and even disappear because there's no consistency, there's no seeing them regularly anymore, there's nothing like that is happening anymore. And so it makes it a lot harder to maintain friendships as well as develop new friendships, because now you're working, you're going to your 8 to 5 job, and if you don't have an 8 to 5 job, that makes it even harder, and you're trying to make friends with coworkers, and that's not always an option. Sometimes you either have difficult coworkers or people that come in that are just, we are just here to earn a paycheck, so they don't really want to develop any friendships. And so now you're feeling like, I don't have any friends, I can't make any friends. Maybe it's just me. And as we said before, it's not just you. Everybody, to some extent, feels this, well, who's my friend? And I got to talking with this friend the other day, and it was, you can try to build relationships with people, and it doesn't always end well. Either they were using you, or they had something to gain from being a friend, and you either lost your position or something better came along, and they fade away fast because that's all they were there for. How to develop good relationships, healthy relationships, is to try to find someone who you have mutual interests with. So I've slowly started to kind of figure out how I've been making friends. So I have this one friend who I made while I was working somewhere temporarily, who we would always talk, and it would be a little bit more personal sometimes, a little more business, like, where we used to work, our different experiences. And then after I left that workplace, we had already exchanged phone numbers, so I would shoot her a text, say, hey, how are you doing? Or she would shoot me a text, and we would kind of keep up this really weird, kind of long conversation over like the span of weeks. So like I'd reply, but then I'd get really busy, so if she replied back, I really wouldn't get to it until maybe I found a breaking point, and so a couple of hours later I'd send her a reply, and then she probably got busy, so a couple of hours after that she'd reply back, and we were just kind of doing this conversation over long hours. And we finally met up again, like probably 7 months after we'd met, or the last time we'd seen each other. We met up to eat, and we kind of fell into old habits. We were talking, we had a good time. She met my husband. We really got to know each other a lot better, and we were like, we have to do this again. And so we went back to text, and then some time, and text, and some time. And reminds me, I probably should send her a text soon. But it was this idea that you don't have to continue like a back-to-back text conversation. You can just kind of, as you get some time, talk to them and see how they're doing, and ask how they're doing, and tell them how you're doing. And don't rely on somebody else to start the conversations, because they might not always feel up to it. And I know sometimes personally I'll start a conversation with somebody, and if they don't reply back immediately, I think, oh, they probably don't like me, or I did something wrong, or maybe I was annoying them, or maybe I misread the signs and they don't want to be friends, and then I just kind of drop it and I don't go back to it. And all it could have been is they were busy. They have kids, they have significant others, they have a life. People are busy. And so you have to kind of get over that and, say, hey, just reply back when you have some time. And not everyone is always comfortable with, oh, well, they texted me like 4 hours ago, should I still reply back? Yes, because you never know. And you don't know, maybe they just decided, oh no, I can't do it, I'll just wait for them to text me again. And if you were frightened that first time, you're less likely to go ahead and text them again. And so that fades, and you both think, well, they probably just weren't that interested in being my friend. Another thing is, not every friendship you have needs to be that deep, meaningful, we could bury a body together kind of friendship. Not every relationship needs to be like that. Every relationship is different. The same way, you have a different relationship with your siblings than you do your friends, or your high school friends, or your college friends, or your work friends. Every relationship is a little bit different. And so just because you don't feel like, oh, I killed somebody, I need someone to come help me bury this body, or, I'm lactose intolerant, I ate dairy, or I need to leave this room because nobody can know that my stomach is not happy. Not every friendship needs to be that close. You can get different levels. Maybe this is the friend that you go to when you're in a sticky situation. This is the friend that you call when you need your car jumped because they have jumper cables. Or this is the friend that you call when your significant other said something mean, or you need someone to rant to about because you just need to talk to somebody. You don't have to go to the same people, and you don't have to feel like, okay, well, I need all of them to be exactly the same, because they're not the same people, and you're gonna have different relationships with them. And so kind of what I've started to learn is that you have to learn to get out of your comfort zone a little bit, as well as put in your effort and not be offended if they don't put in the same effort. At the same time, though, you don't want to be that person who gives 110% all the time. You're maintaining this relationship and they're doing nothing but replying back. That's not healthy either. But you do have to put in the effort to build this relationship. A good example is my husband and his best friend. They don't talk all the time, and they don't see each other like every day, but they both know that if the other needs anything, all they have to do is send a text or give a phone call and say, hey, I'm in a spot, can you help me out? And they'll figure out how to get to one another to help each other out. My husband said it before. He's like, I will be your alibi if you're going out to do something and you need somebody to say, yeah, I was with him all night. Just let me know. And things like that they don't have to see each other every day. They don't have to talk every day, but they still know that they can count on each other. And they just reach out when they can and say, hey, when's the next day that you are free? and, give me 2 or 3 days, and then he gives 2 or 3 days, and they find a day that lines up together, and that's the day they go out together. And they hang out, and they usually spend a lot of time together. So if he asks me to schedule, I say, okay, we're going to schedule y'all like 6 hours, because we both know we'll probably eat an hour, and then we'll just talk for the next 5 hours, and then I'll have to say, okay, we all have to go to bed. And then he's got other relationships with people he doesn't get to see every day. And so it's just, a text conversation every now and then. Like, hey, a life event happened. One of his friends just had a baby. And they talked and sent pictures, and she's adorable. And the same way, I have friends that I asked them all to be bridesmaids at my wedding. And we all kind of got together, and we created a group chat. And just because the wedding's over doesn't mean the group chat had to go away. So we just renamed it, and we just share things every now and then. And when I went down for the 4th of July weekend, I reached out to one of them and said, hey, I know you have a kid and it's a little difficult to just do one-on-one time, so how about we all go to a children's museum and we hang out? And that worked for her. And so didn't talk every day leading up to it. We just kind of talked the day before and was like, okay, I'll probably be there around this time, and we'll go to the first place. If we still have energy after that, we'll go to another place, and we'll just play it by ear. And it doesn't have to be an exact plan. It's just, this is what we're doing today. And now sliding a little bit into toxic relationships. These are relationships where people are just trying to use you to get ahead. And it is really difficult to say no to these relationships and move forward from them, because you want to feel like you can be friends with anyone. And this is a really big important thing. You don't have to be friends with everyone. Not everyone has to like you, because some people aren't going to. Some people just think that, oh, this person's really good at this, or this person knows people, or I'm friends with cops, so maybe she can get me out of a speeding ticket, or I'm friends with doctors, like, hey, maybe they can help hook me up with some free medical stuff. And that's not what friendships are for. Friendships are not something that you use to get yourself ahead. Now, if you're friends with someone and you really enjoy being around them, and they happen to also have an added benefit of knowing somebody like that, fine, but don't exploit that either. Like, my husband's a chemist, and he works with pharmaceuticals, so I have him look through my stuff, but I also don't just use him to look through my stuff, like my face creams, and say, hey, is there anything weird in this? Or, I kind of need something in this. It's just like an every now and then thing. And if somebody's, like my sister, starts a new medication, or she gets sick and they're trying to prescribe something, he likes to look at it because he cares. But this isn't the only reason they talk to him. I know how to do marketing material, and I know how to do different logos, and trying to design newsletters and things like that, and handling Facebook pages. And I don't mind helping my friends. If they come say, hey, I kind of need something thrown together real quick, do you think you could help me out? I'd be more than happy to. But if they're starting a business, or they're doing something where they need me to do a lot of work, I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to have some lines here, because that's a lot of work. And I don't want to just cheapen myself by giving it away for free, or feeling like they only came to me because they knew they could get it for free. Because that's not a healthy friendship either. Even if it's family, which unfortunately happens sometimes. Your friends are not people who give you something for free. This is a two-way relationship that you help each other out. Not to say, I wouldn't help a friend, but I also am going to have limits that, this person only ever talks to me when they need something. That might be a little red flag, and that warning sign that says, you might have to put limits on this. And maybe you do, and maybe they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was taking advantage of you, and they back off and you guys go back to being friends. That's great. But if they say, well, if you're going to be like that, then maybe we're not friends, then maybe they weren't friends to begin with. And it's a really difficult thing to do, because suddenly, oh no, I lost a friend, maybe I was being picky, maybe I was being difficult. No. You have to put limits to take care of yourself. You have to make sure that you're always building yourself up first, because you can't just continually give to people. You also have to fill yourself up, because if you don't, you're not going to have anything left to give. You're going to be burnt out, you're going to be tired, and when you need to be taken care of, you won't have developed these healthy relationships to help fill you up as well. So it's kind of a balance that you have to figure out, and it's really hard to do, because a lot of people aren't really comfortable saying, hey, are we friends, or are you just trying to get something for free? Because it's really easy to be offended by that, but at the same time, it's uncomfortable to have to say that to somebody. So people are more likely to just, we'll figure it out, and if they leave, they leave, and not considering how you're going to feel afterwards. So this friend that I had lunch with the other day she's a really great photographer, and she's amazing, and she's had problems before where people say, hey, can I just get some free pictures? Like, no, it's super easy. And, it's a really easy thing. Just, come in and take 2 or 3 pictures and that'll be it. Like, just, it's really easy. It's simple. First of all, she has to have all of her equipment. She has to make the time. She has to meet you out there. And then she also has to take pictures, and all the photographers I know kind of go through them, make sure they're good pictures, they can touch them up a little bit. That's not something easy, and it shouldn't be something they're expected to do for free, especially if it's their business. Now, if you asked me to go out and take a picture, I'm not a photographer, I'll take my iPhone and be like, I'll snap a shot if that's what you really want, or if we're out and you say, hey, take my picture, sure. But if you're asking someone who's a professional in what they do and you want them to bring their equipment and actually take pictures, you're going to have to compensate them somehow. You have to, don't expect them to give it to you because you're friends. That's not a friendship. You're trying to get something for free and exploiting somebody. You can say, hey, what are your rates? And you can figure out if there's a way that you can come to them, or maybe make it a little easier for them, and maybe they'll lower their prices, but don't expect it. Because if you're expecting it, you're cheapening what they do by saying, you should offer this for free, and they really shouldn't. They're professionals in their industry, and they should expect some sort of compensation for it, because they have experience, they have equipment that isn't free for them. They can't just go into a store and say, hey, I'm a photographer, just, give it to me or lend it to me, and that's not how that works either. So it's something that you really have to kind of balance and take into consideration. And if you have that friend that you feel is taking advantage of you, point it out or tell them no, and that might fix it. That also might end a relationship, but if it's not healthy for you, it shouldn't be a relationship you maintain anyway. And I know I have a really difficult time with that, and part of me is always like, no, it's okay, it's fine, I can keep doing this, I can do this for free, and I can give them all my time, and then when they leave, I end up being drained, tired, and hurt, because I gave in all this effort and all of these things, and I suddenly got nothing out of it, and they left me when I needed them. So while in that moment you might feel like it's worth maintaining, in the long run, all it's doing is draining you and hurting you. So it's better to draw some lines and make some limits, and maybe you decide you have like 5 friends that need something from you. You can do a bonus event and make the prices lower because it's suddenly one spot, one time frame, you can do that. But at the same time, you can't just continue to give yourself for free to these people, because they're just taking what they can from you. If I asked my cousin, who's really good at makeup, to do my makeup, I will compensate her because she's still using her stuff. She's still using her skill set, her equipment. If I ask a friend to help me out with coaching, because I have coaching friends, I'm not going to expect it for free. I'm going to want to compensate them because they're lending me their experience and their time. Now, if we're talking and we're chatting and they want to offer something, that's their prerogative and they're allowed to. But you can't ask for these things for free, because you wouldn't do it if you knew the guy at Walmart. And if he did, I'm sure he would tell you no if that's all you were using him for. You can't just expect people to give you stuff for free because you're friends. You have to draw a line, whether you're the person they're asking or you're the person asking. There needs to be a more healthy relationship there than just give and give and give, or take and take and take. You have to reciprocate. It could be, hey, I need a favor, and I know you needed a favor, let's help each other out. But at the same time, make sure that there's more to it. Maybe you have lunch or you have dinner every now and then, and you get to talk to each other, and you get to build those kinds of relationships where you can say, hey, I had a really tough day and, I really would love someone to talk to. Or, hey, I haven't seen you in a while, let's catch up. And making sure that you take the time to build healthy relationships while also nipping unhealthy relationships in the bud. Hopefully you got something beneficial out of this for you. You maybe got some more confidence to meet somebody, or you built yourself up in new ways and found new ways to develop friendships as well as ending unhealthy friendships. And one of the biggest things, never feel guilty for taking care of yourself first. It's going to be easy for people to tell you, you're just being selfish, you should be giving me this because we're friends. No. You are not responsible for taking care of anyone. You are not responsible for making sure that somebody else is okay. You're responsible for making sure that yourself is okay. Because if you're okay, then you can really build up other people. You have so much more to give. If you're not okay, you have nothing to give because you're hurting and you're empty and there's nothing there to give. So make sure that before you ask somebody for something, you're not taking advantage of them. And before you freely just give because you want to develop better friendships, that this isn't a one-way street. I'm glad I got to share this, and hopefully it helps some of you, and thanks for watching.